Don't test us, Mumsy. We know how to dominate, too.
The core four take a back seat in this Bizarrodale episode of Riverdale, so let's break down season 3, episode 12 and find out just what happened. Rise and shine on, you lovely people. Lisa here, and welcome back to another Riverdale recap for what might be my most favorite episode in a long time. Yes, I think a lot of us can agree that this season of Riverdale, in the words of the guy Alex Myers, who does the funnier types of recaps of this show, which I wish I could do, but sadly, I'm just not that funny. Anyway, as I was saying, in the words of him, Riverdale has become more of a mess. But this week's episode was a nice refresher from the mess that we've had this season. Obviously, there are some of you who don't think the show's a mess. That's totally fine. We all have our own opinions. I don't know. It's kind of a beautiful mess in a way if you think about it. Anyway, this episode put our core four on the back burner as we focus on the other characters that are actually series regulars, which the show criminally underuses. Now, I'm sad that this is probably in a way more of a gimmick episode than, one where we're gonna have these people on the forefront more. But hopefully I'm wrong and it sets up for better storylines for these characters for the rest of the season. Alas, though, this episode gives us a big revelation about one of our gang's parents, where the reunion might not be as happy as we hoped, and yet another fake Gargoyle King is unmasked. Yeah, it's kind of no surprise that Tall Boy was not the real Gargoyle King, and it's like the freaking Black Hood drama all over again as we sit and await to find out who actually is the Gargoyle King, and if there even is one. So let's just go ahead and dive into this week's episode. First up, let's talk about Josie and Archie. Well, Tom and Sierra are finally getting married, and they just want to get married at Town Hall, but Kevin and Josie convinced them to have an after party at the Speakeasy. So if you remember, Josie and Sweet Pea had a summer fling, and we learned that they've still been having a booty call every now and then. So Josie goes to see Sweet Pea to invite him as her date for the wedding. Now, Sweet Pea's actually into it until he realizes that, Josie doesn't want to commit to a relationship, doesn't want to call him her boyfriend, all of that. And you know what? He's done with the whole "you only want me whenever it's convenient for you" attitude, and he basically tells her they're done. So now we have a heartbroken Josie who Archie finds in the music room alone, and Josie ends up opening up to Archie about how she has this audition that afternoon with a rep from Juilliard, but now she's scared she can't get there because she was going to ask Sweet Pea for a ride but didn't even get that chance. She's also having some big realizations. She didn't want to tell her mom about the audition because if she doesn't get in, then her mom's going to ask about backup plans, and Josie's been so focused on music that she's pushed everyone away, built up a bunch of walls, and basically doesn't have any backup plans, so she feels very alone. Thankfully, Archie's also kind of by himself. He's alone, so he's there to comfort her and takes her to her audition, but sadly, even though Josie thinks she nailed the audition, she doesn't get a call back. So now she kind of has no idea what she's going to do. She feels even more alone, has no date for the wedding, and, well, Archie, he offers to be a good friend and go with her. But after other events, which I'll talk about later in this video, Josie doesn't end up needing a date to the after party since that's canceled. But don't worry, Tom and Sierra do actually get married. But we get some season 1 vibes as Archie and Josie hang out together again, having a jam session, singing together, and, well, then they have a kiss. And I mean, at least Archie was a gentleman, kind of asked first, right? Here's the thing, though. Is there no one else at this school that these people can date? It's like such an incestuous friend group, and I guess they have like no friend code, guy code, girl code at all. I mean, Reggie's supposed to be one of Archie's best friends, sometimes rival, and now he's dating Archie's ex. We have Josie and Reggie who dated. You get the whole point, right? Everybody's just dating everybody, and it seems like no one has feelings and cares. Also, with Josie singing about New York, going off to New York, it's kind of foreshadowing her trajectory. By now you've probably heard that CW has ordered a pilot for a Riverdale spinoff called Katie Keene, which takes place in New York years after Riverdale, when our characters should be in their 20s. So if that show does get picked up to series, Ashley Murray would be taking Josie over to that show, jump into the future to be a series regular, which means leaving Riverdale. But don't worry just yet, guys. Like I said, the show is only in the pilot stages. It hasn't picked up the series. There's no other cast members announced yet, so she could still be sticking around. Now let's move on to Kevin and Cheryl's storylines as they kind of influence each other in ways. So when Tom, Sierra, Kevin, and Josie are at Pop's discussing the wedding, Moose and his dad Marcus walk in, and Sierra invites them as the first guests to the wedding after party. Marcus says that he'll check his schedule, but you can kind of tell there's some tensions there, as Tom says he and Marcus used to be good friends in their RROTC days in high school but grew apart. And Sierra says it's kind of because Marcus always had a crush on her in high school and was jealous of Tom. We'll just let her keep thinking that, right? Later at school, Kevin and Moose are hiding out in the classroom making out when Kevin asks Moose to be his date to the wedding, but Moose still isn't out yet and isn't sure if he's ready for that next step, which is frustrating Kevin. Then all of a sudden, Marcus and the other cadets bust in and almost catch the two of them. It's a very close call that makes Moose realize he's still not ready to come out yet, which makes Kevin sad. Meanwhile, Toni and Cheryl find out they did really well on the SATs, and while Toni's still missing the serpents, Cheryl's now determined to get into Highsmith College where all the Blossom women have gone. But you see, there's a problem. The college's board of directors recently changed their policy in order to diversify the student body, so they're looking to accept less women from the alumni pool and look to outside of that alumni pool, which means Cheryl most likely will not get in, and Cheryl immediately knows something fishy is going on, and as you guessed, probably Penelope Blossom is that board member who suggested the change in policy in order to keep Cheryl out of that school, because Penelope still doesn't accept Cheryl and her sexuality and doesn't want Cheryl to, well, kind of take the college. So Cheryl's pissed, and after a talk with Kevin, decides to take matters into her own hands, and well, by now you know Cheryl. Sometimes she just is really selfish and acts without thinking about the consequences or what it does to other people. So what does she do? She gives the morning announcements and announces a new LGBTQIA alliance, and her first order of business is to make those who are maybe more in the closet feel welcome to come to this meeting, and she does that in honestly the most unwelcoming way with a so-called blind item basically outing Moose. And this does not sit well with anyone, especially Toni, and honestly rightfully so. This situation though ends up pushing Kevin to make a decision, and he tells Moose that he can't keep playing this game, so Moose either has to come out or they're going to break up. But either way, Kevin's going to respect Moose's decision. So Moose thinks on it and ends up coming out to his dad, and he tells Kevin he actually thinks it went well. So now they're ready to take things to the next level and make plans to spend their first night together in the bunker, which has pretty much now been turned from a Griffins and Gargoyle bunker into a sex bunker. Meanwhile, Toni's completely pissed at Cheryl for what she did with outing Moose, and only Toni can get Cheryl to shut up and actually listen to why she was wrong. And I've been waiting for someone to kind of put Cheryl in her place for a long time, so you go, Toni. I'm glad somebody gets through to Cheryl, and it's nice to see Cheryl actually realize the consequences of her actions.
Oh my god, is this our first fight?
Cheryl, get some perspective.
I didn't realize.
Of course you didn't. Because you're too busy being Cheryl, causing chaos regardless of the consequences.
So essentially you learn that with this whole thing adds on to Toni still missing the serpents, and she misses those serpents because they were her family and she felt safe with them after her uncle hated on her for her own sexuality. So now Cheryl's determined to make things right with her own three-step process, because Toni's the most important part of her life and she'll do anything to fix it. So these two start off by taking pictures of the men that go to the Maple Club in order to blackmail Penelope, but unfortunately Penelope actually catches them in the act. However, after threatening to publish the names and photos, Penelope kind of concedes for now, at least on this topic. And the policy at Highsmith ends up getting changed and Cheryl gets her interview. But since she now knows she's kind of a shoo-in for the school, she gives up her interview time to Toni, which is for her step 2. Step 3, Cheryl finds Moose and genuinely apologizes.
Outing you was wrong. For so many reasons. It's a personal decision that I shouldn't have taken from you. I'm sorry.
And then we have Cheryl, who decides that as a bonus, step 4, she has gotten Toni a new gang of girls and hopes they can start a new family together, which Toni decides to name the Pretty Poisons, and I'm actually kind of excited about this. They kind of look pretty badass, and from the promo for next week, it looks like Cheryl trains them in archery, so yeah, you're not going to want to mess with them. As for what happens next with Kevin and Moose, we have to talk about first the reunion of the Midnight Club. Now, out of the blue, they all kind of end up getting invitations saying they have to finish the game they started back in high school, or basically their kids will be in danger. And honestly, I feel like the kids are always in danger. This wouldn't be upping it any. Reluctantly, the parents all head back to the school, including Hiram, and they're prepared this time though. Penelope's actually brought the antidote to the cyanide in case, they flip and drink from the wrong chalice, so they should be okay, but there's a problem. They actually can't find any of the chalices. They find out that they've been duped by a copycat gargoyle king who's written on the wall of the classroom, "Got you." They realize this was all a distraction to get them away from their kids. But why? Well, now they're panicking and they basically end up cock-blocking all their kids who are excited to have a night without their parents so they could get it on. And yeah, the parents call warning the kids to stay inside, lock the doors, but the only kid they can't get a hold of is Kevin. So Penelope asks Cheryl if she knows where Kevin is. And next thing you know, we see the Gargoyle King and his gang bust into the bunker and take Kevin and Moose to the woods to flip for their fate, very reminiscent of Ben and Dilton. Now, just as Kevin is about to drink from a chalice, Cheryl and FP swoop in and they unmask the gargoyles, and the fake king turns out to be the RROTC cadets and Marcus, Moose's dad. Yeah, looks like Marcus actually wasn't okay with Moose coming out after all, and FP gets down to the root of this problem. It turns out that back in high school, Marcus didn't have a crush on Sierra. He actually had a crush on Tom, who he kissed, but Tom didn't accept his advances because Tom doesn't swing that way. And when Marcus's parents found out about his preferences, they sent him to Sisters of Quiet Mercy, and well, yeah, you can understand why he's pretty fucked up now. Marcus then thought he was cured, but when he heard Tom and Sierra were getting married, and then to add salt to that wound, that Moose was seeing Kevin, who looks so much like a young Tom, it was too much for Marcus, and he wanted to destroy everything he couldn't have, so he decided to scare the boys with this, Griffins and Gargoyles getup. So yeah, tack on another victim of the Sisters of Quiet Mercy. Like I said, why everyone hasn't moved out of this town yet, I have no idea. But one person who is getting the hell out of Dodge is Moose, which is kind of bittersweet, and he tells Kevin he just can't live there, at least for a while, and is going to stay with his aunt in Glendale. I feel like it was also just a kind of a way to write out Cody Kersley, who plays Moose, as he's gotten a series regular gig on a show called Daybreak, which is coming to Netflix very soon. Either way, I am sad to see Moose go, and the look back that he gave Kevin just definitely tugged a little bit at the heartstrings. But on a happier note, Tom and Sierra do end up getting married, even though they don't have the fancy after party, and we have one happy family. But now let's move on to one that may be reuniting, thinking it's a happy family, but it turns out to be just a front. Obviously, you remember when Veronica and Reggie destroyed all those fizzle rocks and Hermione was not happy about it? Well, she's holding them accountable to get back the money that's owed for those fizzle rocks that they destroyed, which is obviously an outlandish number we don't see, but you can get to just, it's definitely not something a 16-year-old, 17-year-old can make in like a day. So it's time to prove whether Reggie can sink or swim. So Reggie decides to not rob a bank, but instead steal from his own family, which he actually calls stealing from himself because he's going to inherit that dealership. So yeah, they decide to go steal from Reggie's dad's dealership. So as a cover-up, Reggie dresses as a member of the Gargoyle Gang, but yeah, these guys are not the smartest criminals. I mean, Reggie does not wear gloves, his fingerprints are going to be everywhere, plus the getaway car, they leave tire tracks as they peel out of there. I mean, I don't think there's many cars like Reggie's in town. They're just leaving a lot of evidence all over the place. They think they're home free. They think they got this job done. They're gonna have this money, but when Reggie opens the bag, well, yeah, it just gets worse, and a dye pack explodes all over the money and Reggie. So there's no way for Reggie and Veronica to fix this situation in the amount of time they got left. So they decide to meet with this middleman anyway, who turns out to be none other than Gladys Jones. But guess what? She's not actually the middleman. She is the secret buyer, and she's so impressed by Reggie and Veronica's, balls and guts to show up anyway with the dyed money that she decides to give them a bit of a break. She decides to charge them a fee because she's gonna have to get this money laundered, and plus she's gonna help them set up a payment plan so that they can pay this money back. Because guess what? She's actually planning on sticking around for a while. Oh, and as expected, she warns them to not tell Jughead about what she's doing, because if they do, then Gladys is gonna blow up everything by telling Hiram about what Hermione's been doing behind his back, and well, that's just not gonna end well for anyone. So Veronica and Reggie relay the message to Hermione, who's pretty shocked that Gladys herself came, and then they tell her that Gladys is sticking around, which is also a surprise to FP and Jughead, who return home to find Jellybean and Gladys there. And well, as adorable as it is that Jellybean has her own little mini Jughead hat on, she's a bit more like Gladys than FP.
Got Dad wrapped around my pinky.
You're his weakness, baby. Which means we got the whole town, JB.
Gladys has Hermione in check, so now Gladys is about to run this town and give, I'm guessing, Hiram a run for his money. So now we just gotta wonder exactly what Gladys's plan is, plus who is the real Gargoyle King, if that even still matters anymore, and basically who's gonna save Riverdale from all the crap that's going on. Kind of feels like a lot to process. I don't really know where the show's going from here because we haven't even brought in the rest of the farm yet. But I mean, the main thing that we learned in this episode is that Jughead's mom is pretty much bad. But Jughead, he's always wanted his mom to come back, his mom and his sister, and here they are being shady. And if they mess up Jughead's happiness, because he's going to be excited to have them, even though FP did not look excited, yeah, it's not gonna be fun. We're gonna have to kick Jughead's mom to the curb, sadly. I thought she was gonna be good until this episode, and now it's just, she's got her kid doing her dirty work, man. Let's just hope Jughead does not fall under her spell. But overall, like I said, I really liked this episode because it was nice to get to see the other actors and characters show off their chops, get something of substance to do, so let's hope they get more to do. Plus the reunion of the Midnight Club, it was fun. I would have liked another flashback episode, that could have been cool. One thing though I was not excited about in this episode was an Archie and Josie romance. I mean, that boy just got out of a long-term relationship. He just survived death. He needs to focus on himself, honestly. He needs to put that peen away for a bit. Like, he just needs to, like, not be with women for a while. Yeah, since, like, Archie, he needs to make some good choices. So let's hope that maybe boxing, that seems like it's coming up for him, will distract him and he'll say no to romance. But let's just go ahead and look at the promo for the next episode.
You are all just sacrifices waiting to be made.
We are a family.
Not anymore.
Things could get messy.
You're trying to shake me down.
I need you in my corner.
This is a day of rebirth.
She's not breathing.
You better say an Ave Maria for Mommy.
Alright, well, if you got excited by that promo, unfortunately you gotta wait until February 27th for that episode to air. Yeah. Gives us a little time, though, to come up with more theories about what the hell's going on. So please hit me up down in the comments with your thoughts on this week's episode and any new theories for the mysteries of this season. What was your favorite moment from the episode? Which character were you excited to get to see more of? Plus, what do you think Gladys is really up to? What's her ultimate plan? Sound off with all your answers to those questions, and you can click right over here to check out my interview with the cast of Wayne. If you haven't checked that show out, go do that. It's a lot of fun. Gory and bloody, but fun. And then don't forget to subscribe and hit that little bell so you don't miss any of my recaps or interviews. As always, I'm Lisa. Thanks so much for hanging out with me on this Bizarrodale recap.